Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I am in London. I know I've been on for a while, a lot of things going on. I'll take you through maybe some of that. I have an enormous haul because I came to London, ordered a whole bunch of books before I got here. Then they started the Boxing Day sales, bought some more books. So I have 60 odd books here to take you through. I'm also going to do, and I'm going to take you source by source. So each place that I bought books, I've got 7 or 8 different places that I have purchased books from, most of them online, some live. I'm going to tell you what I paid for each book. So there's a 55, 60 books, something like that here. I'll tell you the amount in a second. And that is roughly, give or take, roughly half a year's worth of reading. I read this year, I think I'll be up to about 105 books by New Year's Eve. So like I say 50 or 60 books is about, 50 books is about half of that. So when I look at the cost of this haul, it tells me roughly what I spend a year on books, which may or may not be interesting to you, but it's interesting to me, and I'm going to share that with you. So I'm calling this Anatomy of a Book Haul, because it's a big book haul. Okay, haven't been on for a while, lots going on, I guess, in the real world. I was going to come back. I've read a whole bunch of books. I've still been reading a whole bunch of books, which I haven't reviewed, and I'm sure you'll get to hear about at some point. But there's wonderful echo in my mum's apartment. But I was going to come back on and do a review of one of the books of 2025, which was that biography of James Baldwin, which I really liked, with some reservations. And the book, if you don't know, it's set up. It's called Baldwin: A Love Story, and it's telling his life through relationships with 4 people that he was romantically involved, different levels of romantic involvement. And I was all set to do a video because I hadn't seen another video yet on the book, and it was one of the big books, and it's appeared in a lot of end of year lists. And I just had a quick look on YouTube and saw that Brian from Bookish had read the book and done a review and had almost the exact same response that I did to the book, in that he enjoyed it very much, but felt that this framing of the 4 people didn't really work or didn't really serve actually the story. And there was plenty of other great things about that biography, but the actual framing, which made it a little bit different or gave it didn't necessarily serve the best interest of the story being told, but it didn't affect his enjoyment. And it was almost word for word things I say. So I felt completely useless. So that put me off coming back to BookTube for a while. Not his review was great. I just thought, it put me off because what have I got to add? What can I say that hasn't been said? I would like to think that I'm saying things that not everyone thinks of, but it's not always the case. Anyway, I'm back now. I've got a big haul. I'm going to take you all through the books. I'm in London, but I'm going home tomorrow, so I've got to work out. I think some of these books I'll probably leave here for some member of the family to bring at a later date, and I'll bring back as many as I can legally transport. It's going to be difficult because I've also bought other stuff for other members of my family, and I want to maximize my book haulage. Okay, I'm going to start with, out of order, I'm going to start with the one book I bought today. So yes, in my trip, I've been hanging out with my mum and my sister, and my sister has her married son staying with her. And I met my great niece and great nephew for the first time this trip, and that was beautiful hanging out with them. They're 2 and newborn, but it was just wonderful meeting them and seeing them with their parents. My nephew as a father, and his wife and their amazing parents, and these kids are gorgeous, and that was super fun. Yesterday my mum and I went to the theatre. We went to see a matinee of Twelfth Night at the Barbican, which was a play that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, and I really enjoyed it. It was a good production. A bit darker for a comedy, one of Shakespeare's comedies. It was quite dark, the whole story with Malvolio. I need to look into that more because it really sort of took it. I mean, plenty of humour and twins and confusion about who's in love with who, and what the girl twin dressed up as a boy, and another woman falls in love with her thinking it's a man. Typical Shakespearean farce. But then there's this dark part of it where they play a prank on Malvolio, and it gets very dark, and it doesn't resolve itself in a particularly satisfying way, and he swears he'll have his revenge on everybody while this love story resolves. Anyway, But super fun to go to the theatre with my mum in the afternoon up in town. Today I went back into town to go book shopping, but there weren't really very many things to buy because I'd done all the book shopping that could possibly be done. But I bought one book, or three books actually. I'll do the other two at the end, but I'll do the first book now. Now, the reason why I want to tell the story is because I was in Foyles, which is, if you know, is a giant bookshop on the Charing Cross Road in central London. Used to be one of the biggest independent bookstores in the world. Now all the bookstores are now owned by Waterstones. So Waterstones is the last remaining big chain in the UK, and they bought Hatchard's, which is another shop on Piccadilly, 2 minutes from the Waterstones flagship, and they bought Foyles as well. I think in America they're in Barnes and Noble, so Waterstones is a big deal. Anyway, I'm in the foyer of, or the lobby area, the entrance area of Foyles, looking at all the books, and they have half price sale, not on everything, on some of the books. You have to look around and hunt and try and find things. And I want to describe what happened. I'm looking at a bunch of books, and in my peripheral vision, there's a man who's looking at another stack or another table of books, and I think he either knocked something or something either fell over or got dislodged. And as he did that, because I was coming in from the cold, it's cold in London, I gave a giant sniff, and he sort of caught my eye. And being British, I felt I immediately had to apologise, because I said to him, I said, no, I wasn't sniffing in disapproval that you'd done something. I apologise, you know. And he looked at me. He was a tall, handsome man. And he looked at me and said, I just wanted to say, I really like your YouTube channel, Daniel. I've been doing this a couple of years now. No one has ever recognised me in the wild or said hello to me. And he shook my hand and introduced himself. His name was Mark. And he turned, and his wife was on the other side of the shop, and he was telling his wife that I was so embarrassed and delighted, just overjoyed with the idea that I've been doing this and talking into the void for all this time, and that someone is watching this and recognise me. I mean, it's not why I'm doing it, of course, but it was super fun. Really enjoyed that. So thank you very much, Mark. You made my day. I told my wife the story. She's laughing, and just I hope you had fun and managed to buy the books you wanted as well. And that was the most fun thing that happened to me today. And the book that I bought in Foyles was this, Stag Dance by Tori Peters. I read Detransition Baby in paperback, loved that book. I hadn't bought this when it came out, and then Bob the Booker maybe had it as one of his favourite reads of the year, and they had it half price. You can see this, so it's half price in Foyles, but this is a Waterstones exclusive edition because they're all the same thing now. Now, when you open it up, it is signed by the author, but I don't know if this is an actual live signature or if this is was printed like this, and this is the thing. But I love the fact it's got these shocking pink end pages. I don't know if everything's back to front. I've got a new laptop. That's the other thing that's new. I'm recording this on a Mac for the first time, and I'm still not really used to using a Mac, but I figured it was time to come into the 21st century. I don't know what the editing process will be like anyway. So for some reason, everything's back to front in a way I don't think it normally is on my laptop. So I'm going to have problems making sure I angle things. Anyway, Stag Dance by Tori Peters got this half price. So this is marked as £16.99, and I paid £8.50 for that. Okay, now I'm going to take you through the first lot of books, which I've got 4 books here. I bought at abe.com. ABE was one of the first online bookstores that I ever used, I think. ABE stands for, it did stand for Advanced Book Exchange, and it was one of the first places where you could go and buy books online. And so if I buy a book from ABE, it's usually I'm buying them one at a time, and usually I've done a bit of arbitrage with 4 or 5 websites open at the same time, and this has given me the best price. So this is actually an expensive one to start with, and graphic novel. There's a whole bunch of comic books here, so I apologise if that is of no interest to you, but there is a good mix of graphic novels, of new fiction and non-fiction, of detective stuff, of continuations of series that I've been reading, and some stuff that's totally new to me. So it's a whole jumble, but these are the books. Okay, first up is this Scarlet Witch, the Complete Collection by James Robinson. I've read other comic books by James Robinson before, so I've liked him as a writer, and I wanted to read this Scarlet Witch, which was a comic book series. I think this is the first 15 issues in one collection of this comic book series. And this is, if you watched the Agatha All Along mini-series, if that's of any interest to you. I keep calling it. If that's of any interest to you, it was on Disney Plus. This is what it was based on. So this has got The Witch's Road and all that stuff. Is based on this, and this is, I say, 15 issues. This is quite chunky. So this has got a cover price of $34.99, which is around £26, and I paid for this £15.56. Okay, next up, also from ABE, I bought Guide Me Home by Attica Locke, which I believe is the fourth in the series with this Marshal, the Texas Marshal, Darren Matthews. I've read everything Attica Locke has put out so far. I think she is one of the premier crime fiction noirish writers working today, and so I managed to pick this up. This came in hardback. It didn't need to come out. It's been out for a while. So the hardback full price on this is £18.99, and I paid £5.97 for this from ABA. The next up was they announced the Booker Prize judges for 2026. And that triggered me to think, well, I've been meaning to get this book ever since it came out 3 or 4 years ago, and I hadn't. So I went straight to AB and bought it. And I'm talking about the Secret Lives of Church Ladies, because Disha Filio is going to be one of the judges of the Booker Prize next year. And I remember raving about this. Everyone was raving about this, and I wanted this. This has a cover price. Again, this is hardback, so I haven't paid back now. This has a hardback cover price. This is the British edition of £14.99, and I managed to buy this unread, pretty good condition hardback from ABE for £3.90. Now, the prices I'm saying, just to be clear if I wasn't, the prices I'm giving you for what I paid include postage. So that's £3.90, including postage to me, to my friend, the pilot's house, and I picked everything up from him on Christmas morning. £3.90 for that, so I'm really pleased with that. And this is a speculative purchase. This is a book called Hyde by Tracy Clark, which is the first in a new detective series. I haven't read Tracy Clark before, but she is a woman of colour writing about a detective of colour, and so I'm always looking for something new and something different I like crime fiction, and if this is a good series, then there's more to read, and I thought I'd try this out. Hyde by Tracy Clark. If you've read any Tracy Clark, or if you read this series, what's the detective called? Detective Harriet Foster. If you read any Detective Harriet Foster, let me know, I'm interested. Okay, that is everything from abe.com. Next up is a bunch of stuff I bought from amazon.co.uk. Some of it from the marketplace side, so some of it not sold by Amazon but fulfilled by Amazon, and some of it directly from Amazon. Okie dokie. First up is a book that I'm guessing nobody here will have much interest in, but it is Jimmy Anderson, the autobiography, Finding the Edge, and this is written with Felix White. Jimmy Anderson is the man who, the English fast bowler who's taken more cricket test wickets than any other England player in history, and he's a taciturn sort of Lancashire man, and is excellent value. Is just a fantastic sportsman playing into his late 30s, and probably still could be playing at the highest level, and he retired this year. And he's written this, I say, with Felix White, and they have a podcast together called Tail Enders, which is, if you like cricket and if you like banter and if you like, is excellent value. Now, this came out this year, and they were talking about the podcast, so I kind of had it in my head. And it's came out this year, and brand new, this would have cost £25. And Amazon was already selling it this year for, I bought this, £25 cover price. I bought this for £3.67. Now, maybe that's the nature of sports books, that they don't stay in, keep their currency for long and get sold off and discounted. But I think £3.67 for a 2025 hardback from Amazon. So this is, again, new, never been read. Thrilled with that. So thank you. Again, I guess cricket not of interest to a lot of people, but that's me. Okay, what else did I get from there? Next up is this. Showed up on a few lists. This is On Earth as It Is Beneath by Anna Paula Maya, translated by Padma Viswanathan. Translated from which language is an excellent question. From the Spanish, is it, or Portuguese? From the Portuguese. So this was first published in 2017 in Portuguese and translated to English 2025. And again, this must have showed up on some list, and it was a short book. So I figured I can't, 100 pages. So I think I'm willing to give this a go, even though I have no remembrance of what it's like. In a remote corner of Brazil, life in a forgotten prison takes a sadistic, deadly turn. Well, who doesn't love a sadistic, deadly turn in a Brazilian prison? On Earth, as it is beneath. I'll let you know how that goes. Looking forward to that. What else? Is another one that I have no idea what it is, but I picked up. It's called Discontent by Beatriz Serrano. I don't remember, this must have shown up on Summer's list. This is 180 pages, so I do love a book comes in under 200 pages. That's got to be fun for everybody. And I'll give this a try. This is translated also, I guess. Translated by Mara Faye Letham. From what language? First published I don't know. I don't even know what language it's translated from. Judging by the name, I'm guessing either Spanish or Portuguese. But when I read it, I'll find out more about Beatriz Serrano and let you know. Okay, this next one was on the New York Times top 100 books of the year. It's a woman that I was vaguely familiar with. So I'm talking about a book called All Consuming by Ruby Tando. Ruby Tando was a contestant in the Great British Bake Off, I think. A young woman who made a good impression on TV and has since gone on to build a career for herself as a writer about food and stuff. And this had an intriguing enough review in that snippet of when the New York Times put out their best books of the year, which I thought, I quite fancy reading this. I don't know, I've never read anything by Ruby Tando, but this is a book about trends in food, why we all suddenly start drinking boba tea, or everyone starts adding turmeric to things. That, I think, is that kind of how the world has moved towards food trends, influences, etc., etc. So I kind of thought that might be an interesting read. Why we eat the way we eat now, and I got this from Amazon at half price. So they are already discounted. So this is new. Did I tell you those other two books? I didn't tell you either of them what they were. On Earth as It Is Beneath had a cover price of cover price of £11.99, and I got it for £7.75. And Discontent has a cover price of £14.99, and I got it for £10.49. The Ruby Tando book is new £18.99, and so I paid £9.50 for that from Amazon directly. Okie dokie. Next up is another in a series of books that I've been reading for a while, and this is the latest Easy Rawlins book from Walter Mosley. I got this in paperback, Farewell Amethystine, and this new is £9.99. I think that's a standard. Oh, £10.99. And I paid for this £8.13. So a new paperback, not terribly highly discounted, but still worth it for the price. This is next up is Pandora's Box by Peter Biskind. I've read Easy Rider, Raging Bulls, and I read the follow-up to that, so I just thought I'd pick this up because I managed to get this in hardback when new would have been £25. Disappointingly, it already had a sticker on it when I got it saying £1.49. I did not pay £1.49 for it. I paid £3.46. So somebody's making money, but that was including postage. So that, this is. So if you read Easy Rider, Raging Bulls all those years ago, Peter Biskind was, I think, formerly the editor of Variety in the States, and so this is about TV and God, I'm sorry, I keep getting where to put it. I enjoyed those other books, good non-fiction about the entertainment business, and I picked that up. That'll be a fun read. Okay, then two more works of fiction. Sorry, I just got to drink something. Two more works of fiction that I bought from Amazon that were on a lot of best of lists. One second, let's put this up there, put the window up there so I can see my thing. Okay, first is Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico. This is translated from the Italian by Sophie Hughes. And this is on a whole bunch of best of lists, and I think Foyles or maybe Foyles had it, or Foyles or Waterstones, Foyles, I think, had it as one of their books of the year. So there were copies of this all over, published by Fitzcarraldo in the UK. So that's a bonus, and more Fitzcarraldo to come, don't worry. The reason I decided to buy this was, if you're familiar, there is a comedian who shows up occasionally in my reels or whatever, Anthony Jeselnik. He is, the kind of comedian that turns up at roasts. He is deadpan, he is dry, he has a dark dark sensibility and sense of humour, with a sort of angelic face, a handsome man, but his humour is dark and mean. I happen to find him quite funny, but he's not everyone's cup of tea. Anyway, he's the last person who you would necessarily expect to be super bookish, but he put out at the end of the year a reel of his top 10 reads of 2025, all of which were super literary, super interesting, with some noirish stuff in there, but really interesting choices. Totally counterintuitive. If you know, even I, who like him as a comedian, would not have imagined that he was a bookish type. This was his number one pick. So that's when we went, oh, okay, I've seen the book around. I think it's another Fitzcarraldo. And it's, short, 110 pages. We love that. And he made this number one book, so I thought, I'm going to get that. And it's everywhere, and I picked it up from Amazon. But he's also starting a book club in January. So I've started following him. The last person you would expect to be sort of lick thick, bookish. But I urge you, go and look for that clip of his top 10 books of 2025, because, as I say, it did not fit with his media personality and his dark comedy. He's actually a widely read and bookish person, and we love to see that, and we like to have someone embrace someone as one of us, dare I say. And he convinced me to buy Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico, so looking forward to that. And this last book was on, I guess, the Booker International, which I don't really follow as a prize, but occasionally it throws things up. But a lot of people had this on their best of 2025 list, including, again, I think I want to say Bob the Booker, who was raving about this. So I picked it up. It is the Book of Disappearances by Ibtizam Azem, which I'm looking forward to reading. This was first published, I think, in 2014 in Arabic, and it's now been translated to English, and that was the English language version was shortlisted or longlisted for the International Booker. This was translated to English by her husband, I believe, and she's described on the back as a Palestinian novelist, short story writer, and journalist based in New York. I did a little bit of research to discover that she's actually an Israeli. Oh, she can free to self-identify any way she wants, but she has an Israeli passport. She has Israeli citizenship. She went to the same university as my son, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. She's as Israeli as I am. We both have the same passport. I have no problem with it, but there should be of no interest to anybody, except interest to me, because the story has an Israeli character in it, two Israeli characters, and all the Palestinians disappear, and the Israeli Jew who's left behind wants to work out where everyone's gone, and it's going to tell a story about the nature of Palestinian lives, etc., etc. In a world that I'm familiar as an Israeli living in Israel, I think will be super interesting and supposed to be a powerful and valuable read. So that is the Book of Disappearance. Looking forward to get that, and also again, 220 odd pages, but nice and short. That should be a nice fun read. Okay, that is everything now that I bought from Amazon. Okay, next up, I've got some books from Awesome Books, which is another online store. So there's 4 books here that I got from Awesome Books. All four of which are a continuation of series books, a series that I'm reading. So when it comes to getting the next book in the series, sometimes I'll buy, if it's a long detective series, sometimes I'll buy 3 or 4 of them at once. And really here, I'm looking for wherever I can get the best deals. So there are 2 books from one series here, and they're not the consecutive ones. So I bought the 4 next books in the series, but not all from the same place. So at any one time, I've got them. I can't buy book 3 if I don't have book 2. So I had to make sure that I could get hold of everything. But this Awesome Books was giving me a deal. If I bought 4, maybe I got one of them for free, or maybe I got a discount on whatever it was. That's why I got these 4 books. And in cases where one book was for free, I prorated the discount across all 4 books so I can put a price on it. But these are the 4 books I bought from Awesome Books, which I think I did free delivery to the UK. The first one is the next in the Rougon Macquart series by Émile Zola. This is His Excellency Eugene Rougon. This is the 5th or the 6th in the series. I just read one in the interim while I wasn't making videos, and it might have been my favourite so far of the series. And I've read them all in these Oxford World Classics, white with a red line series, so I'm collecting them all like this. This, I say, I got from Awesome Books, but I don't think it's ever been read. On the back, this is priced at £9.99, and I paid for this £5.64. That's half price for a brand new classics paperback. Very excited about that. I'm going to have a book at launch. After that, I got What You Want. What You Want to See by Kristen Lipionka. This is the second in the series. The detective, or the PI, is Roxanne Weary. And this was a new to me. I read this year. This was a new to me detective, Roxanne Weary, and I really liked the first one. So I'm looking for, there's I think 4 or 5 of them out already. This is number 2. Looking forward to that. And then I have a couple of books in the 87th Precinct series by Ed McBain. I got 4 altogether. So later on I've got 2 more, but there's 2 here: The Last Dance and Nocturne. I'm coming towards the end. I've read about 45 of these, or maybe even up to 50. I think there's only about 57, 58 altogether. So that he started writing them in 1957 and finished writing them just before he died in, I want to say, early 2000s, maybe. So 50 years of his writing, and the characters don't age in real time. So they were doing detective work as people did it in the 50s, and now they're doing detective work with mobile phones and computers in the 80s, 90s, and when Lee's from, for example. Nocturne is actually from, where am I up to? It's, I'm guessing, the 90s. Can't see anything. No. This was published in 1997. And the other 3 are around about the same time. Okay, so those are the 4 books I bought from Awesome Books. Now we've got the biggest bulk of my purchases, and these are from eBay. Now, some of these are books that I was looking for, and some of them are me going to eBay and saying, what graphic novels do you have? Because I get great deals. I don't buy everything. I have to find it at the right price. And then when it says all best offer, I haggle. And I have super fun when I'm buying books. Not all of these would be like, oh, I must buy that. But I got them at a good price, and I'm interested enough in reading them so I can try different things. I can try different series. I can try characters that I'm not so familiar with. I can just catch up on a whole history of comic books, and I love reading comic books, and they're great palate cleansers. If I read a hard novel, I love to read a Deadpool story or a Batman or whatever it is in between. So this is a bunch of stuff that I bought. I mean, there's other stuff as well from eBay, but a lot of this are comic books, so you can skip through this if comic books aren't your thing. First up, I've got Batman Detective, which is written by Tom Taylor, and this is drawn by Andy Kubert, who is brother of Adam. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't know the story. I don't know Tom Taylor as a writer, but this is a self-contained 6-part series. Sorry about the glare. That it cost to read, but brand new. This is a hardback book, beautiful, never read hardback book. I think I took the seal off this. New, this would have cost $24.99, and I paid for this £5.94. I didn't tell you about the other 3 books. The Kristen Lipionka, I paid £2.25. It's got $7.99 in the back. The 2 Ed McBains, £2.62 and £2.69. So really cheap, under £3 for each of those, which is great for a paperback. Okay, as I say, this was $24.99, and I paid £5.64. So £5.64 for a great big hardback. This is 6 individual comics. This would have been, and told a story. This is from the 2012, I guess, this era. So I'm not totally up to date with Batman, but this was a good standalone story. This is after, spoilers, Alfred has died. If you didn't know Alfred had died in comics, then I'm sorry to break that to you. This is maybe even more recent. This is from 2021. Okay, so this is relatively recent and worked. I read this already over the weekend. Enjoyed that. Batman Detective. What else have I got? Another one, a story that I'd wanted to read. This is one of these bigger Marvel omnibus editions. This is Planet Hulk. This is after Hulk is... So you'll know some of the characters in this because they use them already in the MCU. When Hulk is off planet and he fights Thor and that whole thing. Well, that Thor wasn't in the original story, but Hulk was exiled, kicked off Earth, ends up on a foreign planet, ends up enslaved there and having to fight in some gladiatorial arena. And this is that story and how he becomes the hero, and the Spartacus is his way to rebellion on that planet. I think that's the story. I remember flicking through some of the floppies when it came out, but now I've got the whole collection I can read. This is written by Greg Pak, is the author and a whole bunch of artists. Now this new would have been $34.99, and I paid for this on eBay, including postage, £7. So $34, what is that? $34 would be about £25, £26, and I paid for it £7 all in, including postage. So really pleased with that. Okie dokie, let's put that over there. Next up is one that I wouldn't necessarily have, I've lost my, where are you? Over here. I've got Green Lantern No Fear. This was a relaunch of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, who was dead for a while. Then he was the Spectre, and then he came back, and this is before the Blackest Night. If you're not interested, this is going to give you everyone. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of Green Lantern. I don't really like Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. He wouldn't even be my favourite Green Lantern, but I picked this up super cheap. So this is a cover price of $12.99, and I paid £4 for this, including postage. And I also read this over the weekend. It wasn't as bad. Yeah, it was okay. It was good. As I say, not my favourite character. I thought it was a good price to get in £4 and read these issues, and I'm pleased I did. Okay, then I got a couple of books. I bought these together in a auction, maybe, I don't remember. Anyway, two eras of well, one of them is Suicide Squad. This is the latest. Oh, I've still got the plastic on this. This is the latest series of Suicide Squad post New 52, and this is written by Gail Simone, who is a super. No, that's not Gail Simone. There it says Gail Simone. No, where does it say Gail Simone? This is not written by Gail Simone. Sorry, wrong. That one. Batgirl is written by Gail Simone. This is written by Adam Glass. New 52, that's Harley Quinn on the cover. I haven't read this yet, looking forward to it. This is 6 issues. I paid for this. Has got a cover price of $14.99, which is £11.09, and I paid for this £2.47. Brand new, never been opened, and that's great. And then also, I say this first 6 issues of Batgirl in a trade paperback. This is by Gail Simone. Gail Simone is famously the woman who came up with the women in refrigerators meme of what happens to women in comics and how they just serve the male lead characters, and she's a very funny follow on Twitter / Blue Sky, wherever you find her. Smart person, and I haven't read much of her comic book work, but I thought this is the first 6 issues of some Batgirl relaunch. I think it's the original Batgirl. This is Barbara Gordon, I believe. Okay, what else have I got? Oh yeah, these 2 hardback books, which I know nothing about, except so this is literally me searching graphic novels sort by lowest price, including postage, and I saw this, Heroes in Crisis. This is a hardback book that sold, cover price is £29.99 in dollars. That's £18.50, and I bought this new, delivered to me for £7. And this is a whole story from fairly recently. How does a superhero handle PTSD? And it's got all your superheroes, Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and then some lesser heroes like Booster Gold, and I don't know what happens in this story at all, but I like it. I'm going to take off the. It's got a dust cover, and then the underneath the dust cover, the actual hardback itself is fabulous. That's Blue Beetle on that side, and Booster Gold on that side. So that's super fun. And £7. So for £7, I do not mind reading a story that's entirely new to me, and it may end up horribly disappointing or complete rubbish, but that's a good price. And it's just a beautiful object to hold because it's so shiny and lovely. And then I saw there was a kind of follow-up to that. So once I managed to pick that up for £7, I think that was me negotiating the price. I paid for that one £6.46. But this follow-up, which is called Heroes in Crisis, The Price and Other Stories. So this is Batman number 6465, The Flash 6465, The Flash annual number 2, and Green Arrow 45 and 48 to 50. So a bunch, continuing some story in a bunch of floppy comics, and this is all collected in a beautiful brand new hardback that was sold for $29.99, which is about £22.20, and I bought it for £7. So love having these things super cheap. Okay, next up, some other really cheap copies. I like reading Deadpool. I think he's a great character. I think his stories get told in lots of different ways. So if I can find cheap Deadpool that I haven't read before, then I do. So I've got these 2, one of which I've already read. So the first one that I've read is Secret Agent Deadpool. This is like 4 comic book issues in a floppy. In a trade paperback sold $14.99, and I bought this for £2.12. £2. You can barely get a bag of crisps for £2. And this is, it says on the front, first time in print, because I think this was originally published as an online comic, and then they've put it out, and someone is committed enough, let's say, to spend $14.99. Could have enjoyed the story. It wasn't great. I'm pleased it only cost me £2 because I think that's a disposable amount of money to spend an hour reading a comic book. And the other one I haven't read yet. I should say that was written by Hastings. What's the gentleman's name? I'm guessing gentleman. Yes, Christopher Hastings is the writer there, with Salva Espin as the artist. And then the other Deadpool, also I guess 4 issues here from a series that I haven't read before. This is King Deadpool, written by a gentleman called Thompson. Again, I'm guessing it's a gentleman. Apologies if I'm wrong. Yeah, Kelly Thompson. Well, I've got no idea if that's a man or a woman. Kelly, Kelly. So I apologise. Could be a woman. Kelly Thompson, why not? King Deadpool, again, this has a cover price of $17.99, £13.30, and I paid £2.13 for that. So that's some more comic books. And then this is another one that I really wanted. So those, I just bought them because I found them super cheap. This one I actually wanted, I've been looking for. This is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe by Cullen Bunn, is the name of the writer. And this was, I think, is this a series? Yes. Collecting Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe 1 to 4. I really wanted to read this, and this on the cover says $14.99, which is about £11, and I paid £3.69, including postage, for that. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I think that's slightly more serious in nature than the others. Then I've got another comic book. This is Suicide Squad Trial by Fire. So this is an earlier series of Suicide Squad. This is Suicide Squad, the series that was started in 1987. I had these original floppy comics. I think I had almost a complete run of Suicide Squad from this first run. That's Captain Rick Flag and a bunch of other people. If you've seen the movies, there's Captain Boomerang and Deadshot. That was they were used in the movies, and then they built other villains around them. And I had these original comics. This is the first 7 issues of the series, written by John Ostrander, who I think wrote almost the entire series. And I sold these when I got married. I had a comic collection. I've still got some of the comics I had. But I just downsized my comic. It was a concession I made to getting married. I downsized my comic book collection, including my run of Suicide Squad. So I bought this cheap. This I found on eBay for £2.50. It's got a cover price of £16.99. I paid £2.50, which is less than I would have paid for the original comic books, and I would have picked them up cheap. It was never a popular series that was collectible, so I would have picked them up for 30p, 50p a time, back issues, maybe £1 at the time in the 80s when I was buying it. But it was fun to revisit this, the original, the Suicide Squad as we know it. There was an earlier Suicide Squad, but this is the Suicide Squad that been made into the movies, and then the remake that James Gunn did with Amanda Waller in charge, and they get blown up if they don't follow orders. That's Suicide Squad Trial by Fire, the original 1987 series. Okay, this next one is a super fun find. Again, that I only find by searching for graphic novels on sale on eBay and list by price. I spoke about this when this series was first announced. I made a little video about the announcement because it was astonishing to me. It was the collaboration between Marvel Comics and Penguin Classics. Hear me out, it's a thing. My mother's apartment's so warm, my throat gets very dry. And these were prestige versions of Marvel comic reprints. And they led with Captain America and Spider-Man, the Avengers, and Black Panther. And these, as I say, published by Penguin Classics, right? With the Penguin Classics spine. They're outsized, they're bigger than a normal paperback. You know, if that's a normal paperback, this is the size. I can't see where I'm at. Right, that's huge. With the artwork, original artwork, reprinted here in bigger than a normal comic book. And this is the early appearances of the Black Panther character in 1966, and then his solo series in 1970. As a Penguin Classic, it's got an academic introduction, and there's some stuff at the end with some scripts and a whole thing from Roxane Gay, and an intro from no, not from Roxane Gay. Roxane Gay's written later series of Black Panther, or modern series of Black Panther. I just saw her name back. A good introduction here, and then say his first appearance. His first appearance was in an issue of Fantastic Four. That's the cover, and then later on he showed up in I don't remember where. I wasn't reading comics, but I thought this was a great way to get. And now this has a cover price, US $28, UK £25, and you can see this is brand new. This is brand new. This is how I got it, £25, and I got this delivered to me, so including postage, £7.94. Now, that's cheaper than a new paperback. Supposed to be still on sale. If you buy this at Amazon, it'll cost you £25 with maybe a 10%, 15% discount. And I got this for £7.94. I'm really looking forward to reading these early Black Panther stories and storing this with the rest of my graphic novels. Very happy to have my first Penguin Classics Marvel story. Okay, we've got some more books from eBay still. Okay, that's Black Panther. Next is a book I bought this ages ago. I bought this in August. I was in England in August for my niece's wedding, and I sent this to my friend the pilot, who was also invited to the wedding, and he forgot to bring it. So this has been sitting in his house since August. So this was on the Booker long list, and I found a copy because people talk about it, and I haven't got my hand on it since then. During which time I think it didn't make the shortlist, and so certainly didn't win. I'm talking about Endling by Maria Reaver, which still did end up on lots of people's best of list of the year, but I paid up for this. I paid for this £16.40 a cover price of £20. So a little discount on the cover price, but I think if I waited until I was I purchased it. I might have purchased it on this trip, but I think probably it's going to come out and pay back shortly, and I could have got it for less. So this is a bit of a miss because I paid up for this at the time, thinking, oh yeah, I want to jump on that long list. Still haven't read it, will do, but it was a new copy. I paid £16.40 for it, which is as much as I would pay for a new copy. Happy with that, and we'll get to that. Maria Reaver Endling. I know a lot of people love that. A couple of the other two Ed McBain's, and this is the Big Bad City and Romance. And the Big Bad City I paid £2.94, and Romance I paid £3.01, and they each go for $5.99 or £6.50 in British money. Oh, $6.50, which is less than £4.80. So they're about £5, and I paid about £3 for each of them. That's not bad. Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I'm reading Poirot in order, and this is coming up. And this is new. This has a cover price of £8.99 in it. Is that right? Yes. And I paid for this on eBay £2.94. And there's a brand new paperback. It's a bit bigger than that. Anyway, got that. Next is a second in a series I read. This is the Pentecost and Parker Mysteries. I read the first one, which I read, called Fortune Favours the Dead. Really like that. And this is the second one, Murder Under Her Skin by Stephen Spotswood. And I got this in hardback. Again, I don't know if it's ever been read. The cover price of this hardback is £20, and I paid for this £3. So that's a significant discount. Okay, what else have I got? Also from eBay, I've got here, let's roll up here, let's do that. Oh no, I've lost that. Illness as a Metaphor by Susan Sontag. Haven't read Susan Sontag, but I do love essays. Illness as a Metaphor, and also includes AIDS and its metaphors. So I think 2 essay collections or 2 long essays. Whole thing together comes to under 200 pages. And I love the title, Illness as a Metaphor. This has got one of these, this is the next library book, I'm guessing. It doesn't say, but it has one of these beautiful plastic covers that someone's put on that for me, so that's super nice. I just love the title, Illness as a Metaphor. This wasn't the cover that I had seen when I bought it. I'm getting terrible glare. But I like this. This is like a Penguin Modern Classics, or whatever you call them. Looking forward to diving into that. Also from eBay, I got this collection of plays. I want to read more plays, and I've seen some of these before. This is Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire, and other plays, sort of beaten up, fairly recent copy. What other plays are in here? Sweet Bed of Youth and The Glass Menagerie, and A Streetcar Named Desire. So interested in reading some more plays, and I thought Tennessee Williams, at least I have some familiarity with them. I'd like to own these, so I do. Now, next, I paid for that £3.92. and it's $9.99 on the cover. Next up is You Are Not Alone by Carrie Lloyd. Also got a nice cover. Was this an ex-library book? Doesn't say, but it's got one of the... yes, here it is. Warwickshire County Library. If that's your local, I've got your copy of You Are Not Alone. Carrie Lloyd is a comedian and actress. She also has a book podcast with Sarah Pascoe, who is a comedian, and they've been friends forever, and they're serious about books, and their book podcast is fantastic. It's called Weirdos or something. What's it called? Look up Sarah Pascoe. Sarah is Sara, Pascoe Paskoe, and Carrie Lloyd. Book Weirdos. I can't remember. I'm blanking on what it's called, but I read this every week. They love books, and before she had a book podcast, Carrie Lloyd had a grief podcast. I think it might have even been called the Grief Podcast. She lost her father when she was an early teenager, or maybe even a bit younger. And she talks a lot about grief and what it determined, what it is. And she's now married with children. She's a woman in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. Very evolved, very processed her grief, and she talks about it. And this podcast, which I haven't gone back and listened to, she ran for several seasons where she interviewed people about grief. And this is a book that she wrote after that called You Are Not Alone. My father's gone 11 years, and I think about it a lot, and I think about grieving still, because I'm at an age where I go to a lot of funerals. A lot of my friends whose parents still alive are losing parents. I don't want to talk about the last couple of years where I've been to funerals of much younger people, but it's something I think about a lot, and I wanted to read her book and support her because I think she's great. And this copy of You Are Not Alone, you can buy it new for £10.99. I paid £5.58 for it. It's about half price. Good. Okay, next up, I read for the first time last year Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, and I said I wanted to read more William Thackeray, and so I bought this copy of The History of Henry Esmond, Penguin Classic, which was $5.99 when it was published. I think nowadays it's $8.99, $9.99, and I paid for this £3.96. So looking forward to that. This is my preferred edition of Penguin Classics. This is what I grew up with: the black spine with the red, not with the white line in the middle, and the newer Penguin Classics. This is how I love having this on even though my copy of Vanity Fair is that cloth-bound classic, which looks nothing like this. But anyway, okay, here is another sort of near miss, but I really wanted to read this, and I saw it cheap on eBay, so I pulled the trigger. I'm talking about Cursed Daughters by Kim Braithwaite. She wrote My Sister the Serial Killer, which was a fantastic, fun rollop of a read, and so I was excited about this when I heard it came out. I bought this on eBay for £10.49. Has a cover price of $18.99, and I saw it today in Waterstones for half price. So I paid £10.49. I could have bought it today for £8.50, and this was a brand new unread hardback. I could have bought it new in foils for half price. Anyway, paid a little bit more than I need to there because I haven't read it yet, and I could have bought it today for cheaper. This was another book. Next up, the last book from eBay. This was in someone's end of year best of list and piqued my interest. It's not a genre that I read very much. I'm talking about a book called Earth, Aerth, by Deborah Tompkins. And this, I think, is kind of science fiction-y. It was joint winner of the 2024 Weatherglass Novella Prize, chosen by Ali Smith. So that, I think, intrigued me because I like Ali Smith. It's under 200 pages. And I think it's a climate science fiction, interesting. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but why not? And this came with French flaps, paperback, brand new. This would have been £10.99, and I paid £8.78 on eBay for it. Okay, that's all my eBay purchases. Ooh, deep breath. How long are we going so far? Nearly an hour. Brilliant. I've still got loads to go. Okay, next up, I've got 3 books that I purchased from Fitzcarraldo's website because before Christmas they had a 30% off sale. So I bought all these 3 books for 30% off. I'll start with the fiction and then 2 non-fiction. First of all, I bought Big Kiss Bye Bye by Claire Louise Bennett. I read her first short story collection, Pond. Then I read her, which was published by Fitzcarraldo. Then I read her novel, Check Out 19. I love them both. I love Pond really deeply love Pond. Checkout 19, really enjoyed. That was not Fitzgerald. I've got a hardback version of that. And then this is another collection which just came out this year, Big Kiss Bye Bye, Claire Louise Bennett. This is new and hard to find Fitzgerald discounted. That's why when I saw the 30% off sale on their website, I went for it. So let me go here. So brand new. This has a cover price of $12.99, and I paid £9.09 for it. Really looking forward, and also short stories, but under 160 pages. Love that. Okay, next up is a book about porn. This is King Kong Theory by Virginie Despentes. I don't know. Translated from the French, I believe, by Frank Wynne. I'm not going to read that description out, but I was talking about Carrie Ad Lloyd's book, and she has a podcast with Sarah Pascoe. Sarah Pascoe's second non-fiction book is about sex work and pornography and our relationship to it, and just a really not deep, not overly academic, but from a person who wants to be non-judgmental and wants to understand how it impacts people. And it was just a really interesting read that had me thinking a lot about how we deal with these things, and a fantastic set of references in the back of the book of things you should read if you're interested in this to learn more. And I took this from that list, King Kong Theory, which is, as I say, published, I think, a few years ago in French and then translated into English. Here, we'll say in the back. Originally published in 2006, and this translation is from 2020. I'm looking forward to diving into that. And then the last book, what did I pay for that? 1 second. King Kong Theory. This has a cover price of £10.99, so 30% off. It cost me £7.69. And then the last book that I got for the Fitzgerald sale was The Years by Annie Ernaux. I read one of her books, The Happening. She's hard to find secondhand, and I like to pay as little as possible for my books, but I wanted to read more Annie Ernaux, and so this is next up. This is this is also around 220 pages, so we love to see that, and looking forward to tucking into this. She's of course a Nobel Prize winner, and I paid for The Years. This new was £9.99, and I paid £6.99 for that. So thank you, Fitzgerald, for running that sale. Next up, 2 books that I was sent for free, because free comes after Fitzgeraldo in my list of sorted by source. First one is Julian Barnes' Departures, which comes out in January. They sent me this paperback ARC, uncorrected Jonathan Cape proof. So thank you, everybody at Jonathan Cape or Vintage or whoever it is that sends me free books. I love it. I've read. I'm not an exhaustive Julian Barnes reader, but I've read a fair bit of Julian Barnes and really liked some of it and liked others of it less. But happy to get a free book, and so this is under 160 pages. That should be a whiz read, and I'll do this in the next couple of weeks before it comes out. I can't remember if this is even short stories or if this is non-fiction. I think it's fiction. I think it's short stories. I'll let you know when I get to it. Julian Barnes' Departures. Next free book that I got is a fantastic thing to get for free in the post. This is Joe Sacco's cheapest, The Once and Future Riot. I've read previously, Joe Sacco is a graphic novelist, so this is his book. He has a very idiosyncratic way of drawing people's faces, and mostly based on his self-portrait and how he sees himself, I think. I've read one of his books before called Palestine, which is about visiting the West Bank and maybe Gaza, but going back a while. I think it's from the early 2000s, so predating anything you may have heard about Gaza, but I'm not saying it was a paradise, but a different time, but dealing with the occupation, people living under occupation and their relationship to Israel, etc., but dealing with Palestine and Palestinians. A good read, beautifully drawn, very specific. And this is so I was offered this as a free read, and I said yes, please. As I've got The Once Future Riot, which is not about Palestine, Gaza. This is about violence in India and Uttar Pradesh. Joe Sacco immersed himself in Uttar Pradesh, speaking to government officials, political leaders, village chiefs, and especially the victims, who were mostly landless peasants, in a quest to understand these riots as an archetype of political violence. Looking forward to that. The ones from Future Right. Okay, those are the 2 free books. Next up, I'm going to do books I got from World of Books. I'm going out of order here because I'll end up with the Waterstones. So books that I got from World of Books, which is another website that delivers to the UK. If you buy it, and they had a thing, you buy this much and you get this one's free, and blah. I think I did 2 orders from there. So this is 2 combined orders where one of the books will have been for free if I bought the others, but I prorated the cost across all of them. So I got 3 volumes of Giant Days, the next 3 volumes that I needed to read, volumes 9, 10, 11. This is a great graphic novel series about students in a university in somewhere in the UK. And just wacky and fun. I've enjoyed these, and I like the idea that I'm going to have the whole collection on my wall, on my shelves, I should say. So I've got that. I also got, excuse me, my voice. Also got this. This is a new format for comic books. What do they call them? DC Compact Comics. So this is a series of Catwoman written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by the great, late, I believe, Darwin Cook. But this is an interesting format. So this is the normal size of a graphic novel, and you can see these DC Comic a bit shorter than a normal book, and being sold for much less. So I've shown you a whole bunch of graphic novels, some slimmer than this, covering fewer comics. This is issues 1 to 9. That's 9 separate comics here. I've got some graphic novels here that covered 4 issues, and they sell them for $14.99. And this in dollars is $9.99. I just was in Forbidden Planet, which is a comic book shop in London today, and they had them all for £8.99. So dollar price $9.99, UK sterling price £8.99, and I paid for this £5.57. Great. Oh, the Giant Days, the 3 volumes I paid, they all got a cover price in dollars of $14.99, which is about £11.10p, and I paid for them £5.48, £3.35, and £3.19. So pleased to have those. Then next, I've got 2 books in a series that I'm also following. The next 2 Maigret stories by Georges Simenon. I picked these up secondhand. These each have a cover price of $6.99 and $7.99, and I pay for them £4 and 4p and £4.50. Thank you for those. Then I've got this Penguin Modern Classic called Journey Through a Small Planet by Emmanuel Litvinov, an author who I don't know, but I've been reading about this book, and it's about his time growing up as a Jewish man in the East End of London, as a Jewish boy, turning into a young Jewish man in the East End of London in the... His parents fled from Russia in 1914. His experience in school, I guess, in the 20s and 30s in England. And this book came out in 1972. And so he was then an older man and a successful literary figure, as far as I can tell, but it was not familiar to me. But he wrote about his childhood growing up in the East End as, in a community of Jewish immigrants in a formative time. And it's a world that I'm not familiar with. My parents didn't come to London until the mid-60s. So I'm not I have friends whose grandparents were around in the East End of London in the 20s, 30s and 40s. That's not my family. My family only came to England in the 60s from Ireland, which is a whole different story. I thought this looked super interesting, and I loved this edition, and this has a cover price of £9.99, and I bought this secondhand for £3.50. Beautiful. Next up is a book that I had on my radar for the longest time. This, I think, 2 or 3 years ago was in that New York Times top 100 books of the year. It just sounds super fascinating. It's a big book. I've been talking about a lot of these books coming in at under 200 pages, under 300, 250 pages. This is 500 odd pages. The book is called The Best Minds by Jonathan Rosen. I got this hardback edition, which was sold originally for £25 when did this come out? I think 2022, 2023, something like that. No, where's your title page? Here. Published in 2023. This looks like a first UK edition. No, doesn't matter. The Best Minds by Jonathan Rosen, and I paid for this £3.65 instead of £25. So worth the wait, because I think at one point I did try and find it for 20 quid, and then it sold out. Whatever. We went to get this. I'll tuck in this. I think it's a good non-fiction read. I don't want to have any spoilers. but you can look it up if that's of interest to you. Okay, the last group of books are the books that I got secondhand from Waterstones. So Waterstones started its half-price sale on December 26th, what we call Boxing Day in the UK, what you call December 26th in America, and they released on their website a couple of days earlier, they marked down all the books that were going to be half price. So I went into the website, I found as many of the books that I was interested in, and I did click and collect, which meant they would be waiting for me in the bookshop that I was going to visit on Boxing Day morning, Friday morning. My mum lent me her car. I went to Watford, went to the Waterstones there, and I said, "Hi, I'm here." And they handed me 5 books, of which I paid half price for. And they are as follows. A bunch of non-fiction here, mostly, one fiction. They are Night People by Mark Ronson. Mark Ronson, the DJ, music producer, Oscar winner for writing Shallow from Star is Born, and he also wrote the this thing, white gold, straight masterpieces, living up in the city. For Bruno Mars, he's on that as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff. He produced Amy Winehouse's Back to Black album, and this is about his life as a young DJ, 18 to 25 in 90s Manhattan. It comes from his mother and his father, who divorced when he was 5 or 6. His father, Lawrence Ronson, was part of the famous Ronson family. My wife was in school with the branches. So my wife was in school with Mark Ronson's first cousin. This is only about the 90s. It stops in 2000. So you don't get to Amy Winehouse. You don't get to him being a superstar. You just get to him being a DJ, taking a lot of drugs, showing up at clubs and partying till 5 o'clock in the morning. But throughout it, he is self-deprecating. Even when he drops names, it's all about the humiliation he had at that time. Jay-Z ignored him, or as a kid, Robin Williams tucked him up in bed, and clearly he was at a party with his mother, who was quite the socialite, and they all probably coked out of their brains. And so, on the one hand, you think, okay, this kid was born into privilege, and his mother then married a guy called Mick Jones, who was the songwriter and guitarist in a band called Foreigner, who were huge in the late 70s. If you know, I want to know what love is, I want you to show me. That is a song written by Foreigner, which went to number 1 in the UK, certainly, in 1984, and was written for Mark Ronson's mum. And so Mark Ronson's mum marries, they move to New York, and he lives in a house with a rock star who's got his own recording studio, etc., etc., etc. And so on the one hand, he's like, so smug and privileged and fabulous. He talks about, learning his bar mitzvah in the morning and then going to hang out with his friend Sean in the Dakota building in the afternoon. If you know, you know. And just has this charmed Manhattan life. But he has to hustle, and he has to put himself out there, and he has disappointment and rejection. And I read this, I'm sounding like, I just bought the book. I read the whole thing in one day, Saturday afternoon, here at my mum's. Loved every moment of this. My wife is going to read this. I say she knows Mark's first cousin. She was in school with her. So she's just interested in the story anyway. And really accessible, really fun read. I've already recommended it to a bunch of people. And I would recommend it to you. Night People by Mark Ronson. Picked that up at half price. That was new. Would have been £25, brand new. And Waterstones sold it to me for £12.50. Happy to have read it for that price. Next up is the next in a series. And I kind of waited. I might have bought this full price when it came out, and I'm really pleased I held off, so I got it for half price. But these are unmissable. This is the next in the Slough House series. This is Clown Town by Mick Herron, which has a cover price of £22, and I got it for half price, £11. I was reading it on the tube today. I'm about 100 pages in. I'll finish it on the plane home tomorrow, I guess, because it's so readable. He's so good. Slow Horses is the greatest TV show. The series came out this year. It was fantastic, but the books are better. Looking forward to that, or finishing that. Next up, 3 works of non-fiction. First is, I don't usually do this, by books with 2 names on it, but I did in this instance. This is The Escape by Pippa York and David Walsh. It is about Pippa York, and David Walsh is the ghostwriter who's credited on the cover here at least. And this won the 2025 William Hill Sports Book of the Year, which is again not a prize that I follow every year, but occasionally when I've dipped into it has thrown up interesting things. I don't know anything about these characters, but I can tell you just from the blurb, I'll read the blurb of what this is about. This is called The Escape, Pippa York and David Walsh, and this is as follows. In the summer of 2020, sports writer David Walsh and Pippa York began a series of journeys covering the Tour de France. The nostalgic trip following the world's greatest bike race provided an opportunity for Walsh to get to know one of the Tour's most enigmatic riders and a chance for York to revisit the race she had ridden 11 times as Robert Miller. That's the story. If that's of interest to you, then you might read this. I'm looking forward to it. I didn't know the story. I didn't know anything about Pippa York. I'm looking forward to reading it now. Because it got that recommendation of the best sports book of the year. So that's The Escape by Pippa York and David Walsh. Looking forward to that. Four more books, two more from the Waterstones half price. Salman Rushdie's the 11th hour. I love Salman Rushdie. Like to read everything he does. Really excited to have this in hardback. This was £18.99 new, so I paid £9.50 for this. Excellent, looking forward to that. And this is non-fiction, I think, novella and some short stories. Also, essays, Zadie Smith, Dead and Alive essays. That would have been £22 new. I paid £11 for it. Brand new hardback. Really excited to have that. Love essays. Love Zadie Smith. I've read all her fiction and most of her non-fiction. So excited for this. Then, last two bonus books I've got, and then we're done. I was in Any Amount of Books, which is one of the last remaining second-hand bookshops on the Charing Cross Road. Not 84 Charing Cross Road, but 56 Charing Cross Road. But to give you an idea of the kind of shop it is, and they have a stairs that go down to a basement. It's just magical going into the bowels of a second-hand bookshop in Charing Cross Road that's been there for God knows how many decades. And when I was there in the summer, I managed to pick up, they have a shelf in the basement, round the corner, in the back, they had a shelf of ARCs. So reviewers have given them, or maybe sold to them, their not for sale review copies of books. And I picked up a copy of Sea Scraper when it made the Booker Prize long list and was still out in hardback. I managed to pick up an ARC of it there for £4 and read it, and it was great and a good price and a good thing. Anyway, they didn't have any ARCs that I was interested in, which is a shame. But I went through the shelves of books they had and saw these two things and pulled the trigger on them because just fancied reading them. This is two hardback collections of Sholem Aleichem's short stories, which I've never read. These would have originally been published in Yiddish, and these are translated into English. This is published by some press in London in the 1970s. And this is Tevye's daughters. Tevye, of course, is the hero of many Sholem Aleichem stories, and his story was turned into a musical called Fiddler on the Roof, about Tevye the milkman. And these are some of the stories feature Tevye and other characters from the shtetl in Eastern Europe in the turn of the century, or turn of the 19th and 20th century, around about then. And then this other collection is called The Old Country. Two collections of short stories, nice big print, great big hardbacks. I couldn't leave these on the shelf. They were £6 each, and I'm delighted to have taken them home with me. I'm looking forward to diving in and learning more about Sholem Aleichem and his particular brand of Yiddish-inflected wit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my anatomy of a book haul. I'll try and publish more videos next year, but for now, you've had a bumper crop. Good night, God bless, hope you're keeping well, bye.